Going slow. Well, welcome to the Noble Shire for progressive discussion at progressiverockcentral.com. We have a wonderful guest here today. Her name is Lisa LaRue. And thank you, Lisa, for taking time out of your busy schedule to discuss your latest album, Forged from Fire, with us
It's a pleasure.
with us
I'm
today.
honored that you asked.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, Forged from Fire will be out on October 3rd of this year
Correct.
on a fantastic label, Melodic Revolution Records. If you haven't heard of these guys, you really should. Nick Katona is the CEO or the owner,
Hmm. The
and he
guy.
great guy. Yeah, he has offered to send me a bunch of albums, which I haven't received yet, but I know he's doing it. And the first one he sent me was Lisa's, and I've been wanting to talk with her. I've been wanting to do a review of her music for a long time, and she mentioned that she had heard of me. I've heard of her
Hmm.
many, many times, and like I say, have been wanting to do a both a review and interview, and here we are today. We've made it. So again, welcome and thank you again for taking time out of your uh, busy, busy. I know she's actually in a studio there. That's perfect. So she
Yeah,
may she
yeah.
may even
Well,
be working on things, but go ahead.
I have several other things I'm working on for the future already. Yeah, I'm making up for lost time.
Excellent. All right. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about about your background, your history, how you got into music to begin with? What was it that sparked the flame that you said, I gotta do this? I absolutely have to make music. And then
Yeah, I
there.
I was born with that little flame. I know I was. My father's family was very, very musical, and my grandmother and all of her siblings had bands, and I have cousins that have made records, and just the whole family is very musical. And all of them were like me, played by ear, never had any
Oh,
formal training or anything. And so I guess that's where I get that. But I was raised by my grandparents, my maternal grandparents, the other side. And my grandma was, she loved music. She had a radio in every room of the house and record players all over. And so I would listen to everything from 78 records and, stormy weather to soundtracks. Camelot was a big one that influenced me. And I would sit, we had one of those, stereo console stereos that look like a piece of furniture. And
oh yeah.
I'd sit on the floor and lean back, the speakers on each side, and I'm hearing all these strings and oboes and all these things going on surrounding me. And I just thought, man, I want to be able to do all of that. And so somewhere along the line, when I was about three, my grandparents bought me one of those little Magnus chord organs.
Oh wow.
And I was playing a lot of songs that they realized weren't in the little number book that came with it. They were songs that were on the radio.
Oh wow. So
And
you played a
so
year.
she figured out I was playing by ear. So um, I had an accident at school, broke my ankle. And so my grandparents bought me a Hammond organ.
Oh
And
wow.
the Hammond came with free lessons.
Can't
And the
beat
guy
that.
came with this little book and a little cardboard thing that sat on the keys with the numbers and letters and all that on it. And
Metronome. I
well,
remember.
it was like a no, it was like a little
What?
piece
No,
of
but
paper that no metronome. He
oh
didn't do
okay.
he didn't get to that point.
Oh, okay. Hey,
And s-
I did take a few lessons from my cousin, and she had that metronome just sitting there. Is like, can we turn that?
yeah,
Can we turn that off for a minute? But
exactly. Well, he left me after the first lesson with wanting to practice Saints Go Marching In or something like that.
oh well,
And so when he came back, I played it and he just sat back and he said, well, she played it great, but not in the key that it's in the book. So he
okay.
realized I was just playing it because I knew the song and was playing by ear. So my grandparents said, let's just cut the lessons and let's see what she does. So I set up this little easel in my bedroom and I started designing my own album covers. And I had a cassette tape recorder. It was like a big deal at that time in like
Oh yeah.
1970 or something. And my grandma had one too. So I would play something on one and then I'd play it back and I'd play another part with it and record it on hers and bounce them back and forth. And it was just something that, I knew I was going to do. I always knew I was going to do it. And then as keyboards improved, then it was like all those sounds I heard on Camelot, I could do all of those. And so Prague was an obvious thing that for me, because of all the orchestration and all the different types of music I'd been exposed to. And I was 13, and my boyfriend at the time, over the phone, he's like, listen to this, you got to hear this, and he played Lucky Man.
Oh yeah.
And all I could really hear clearly on the phone was woo, this solo going on. And that was it. That was it. So got ELP records. I started learning all the solos and all the parts, and then Rick Wakeman, and then Tony Banks, and that was it. I just kept going.
All right. I'm going to throw in a little story because you reminded me of one. When I was real young, I don't think I had headphones right away. I eventually bought headphones, but I also wanted to feel what it was like because I couldn't afford it. I couldn't, get to like a Pink Floyd concert. So I
Hmm.
would put both of the speakers, and I actually still have those speakers. I'd put either one on either side of me, and I'd lay down and I'd play it as if I was at a Pink Floyd concert or a Led Zeppelin concert or whatever happened to be the album. And I felt like I was there. I mean, it was just,
Yeah.
except for the pops and skips. And then finally they came out with CDs, and then I really did feel like I was there. I mean, it was but anyway, the things that you do when you're a kid. I mean, now these kids have everything. They don't need to do any of that stuff. It's cheap to get.
Yeah, and I can see a lot of influences that were more subtle too. Eddie Offord as a producer was really, really wonderful at this panning. Panning was one of his secret weapons. And I always paid attention to that on each side of me, what was going on each side. And so that's something I try to implement in a lot of my work. Not so much in Forged from Fire, but in the past, I've always, had a whole lot of panning going on and where it becomes immersive to listen to it.
Definitely. Do you want to talk about your heritage a little bit? I know you probably do, but it's up to you if you want to or not.
Well, I'm a citizen of the Cherokee Nation. I worked for the tribe for over 25 years as in language, history, and culture, and it's just a part of my daily life. So there's always some sort of, excuse me, influence or a little taste of my culture. I'm going to have to do this quite a bit. Sorry.
That's okay. No, no, no.
There's always a bit of my culture in everything I do. In some things, it's more obvious. My first album on Sound of America Records, that was a native label, and it was Beloved Tribal Women, and each song was about a native woman of the past, and it was accompanied by native art book that came with it. Two, there's a song on uh, World Class. I believe it's World Class. So I get confused which album everything's on, but it's called Katua, and that is the religious arm of my tribe. We're Nighthawk Katua stomp dancers, ceremonial kind of stuff. There's always something in there, and I've done children's songs in the Cherokee language, and even Forged from Fire has, to me, more of a meaning than it does to other people because our sacred fire is part of our ceremonies. So. Um, the ceremonies at the Sacred Fire have helped me get through lots of things in my life. So that's kind of a little subliminal thing, or an Easter egg, as they say. But yeah, so I always include that. And I'm working on a project. Actually, I'll spill a little bit of the beans, just one little bean
Please.
here.
Yeah.
But I'm working on a project that is all Native themed about Native issues with missing and murdered Indigenous women. That will be my next project, hopefully. There'll be other things too, but like I said, I'm making up for lost time. So I have all these ideas going on, but I never leave my culture out because that's just part of who I am. And it would be like, if I spoke English, I would, well, I do, but I mean, if I only spoke English and then I did everything in Spanish, it'd be like, well, why aren't you using your own language?
Yeah.
People would ask that question. And with me, it's like that. It's like, well, people would ask, why aren't you including your language and culture in your music? So it's always there, sometimes a lot more obvious.
All right. You mentioned ELP, Genesis,
Mhm.
and one thing that I hear is, and by the way, she lives in Topeka, Kansas. I also hear a lot of Kansas. And if you
Yeah.
go back to their early albums, they were very, that's not the right way to say it, pro-native, but I know that's not the right way to say it.
Yeah,
They were
yeah, there's a lot
very
of native influence in it.
influences, and they respected the culture. And it would be so wonderful if you could get together with uh, some of those, the great, uh, the man that wrote all the fantastic songs for.
Yeah, I have
I mean,
a
they're still good, but it wasn't as good as the beginning anyway. For me, anyway. I
Yeah,
still love. Yeah.
Song for America, that album is probably up there in my top three albums of all time.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of memories of being a child here in Topeka and their bus they had parked in front of the band house. And, like they were very much a part of my growing up as well. And I think it was a subliminal thing there too, because they were just part of the fabric of Topeka. And Prague was very big in Topeka, it's amazing how many people have come out of Topeka involved in the Prague world. But Kansas, I will say that there's a track that's a bonus track on the CD version of Forged from Fire. That the lyrics, it's Jake Livgren does the lyrics, and Jake
Oh
lives
yeah.
here in Topeka. And of course, he has a lot of kind of, I don't want to say Kansas influence, but it's a subliminal influence. He does his own thing, but there's a lot of that in him as well. And I really admire Jake a lot. He is one of the most multi-talented people I have ever known, and he can do anything that you ask him to do. And I remember at one time he did some handyman work and he had this little card and it said Jake of all trades and I was like, oh, that is
Perfect.
so brilliant, and he's just that way with everything he does. But music, he's the guy. So I hope to do more work with Jake for sure.
Excellent. Will you tour? And I don't know if you tour at all, but will you tour Forged from Fire?
Actually, I'm not. I get asked this a lot, a whole lot, and I have a billion different reasons, but I'll try to put them all in one little ball for you. For one thing, I always work with musicians that are located all over the world.
Yeah.
Um, this album has some, like Honor, he's in Kapanaglu, he's in Turkey, for example. Yeah, I work with people all over, and so it makes it, if we were able to pull it off and actually get together and rehearse and then travel to do, the cost would be just so exorbitant.
Yeah.
Um, and I wouldn't want to get people to stand in for them. That wouldn't seem right to me. And also, and I have a lot of health issues all my life. And so because of that, I've always been this studio hermit in a way, much like how Kate Bush works with her music, you know. It's like I'm in my head, I do my thing and I construct it and I build it and weave it and it comes out like this and it just that's more what I do and I'm okay with that and I think my fans that have stuck with me are okay with that, you know.
Sure.
Because I'm very accessible like this, you know, and I answer people when they write me and you know, so I may too, though. I'm thinking about maybe doing some online kind of
Oh yeah.
performances, possibly.
Yeah. Those
Yeah, so
are very
there's other ways we can do it, you know.
yeah, those are very popular during COVID and
Yeah, COVID opened up our world to a lot of new technology um, in a very fast way, you know. It would have happened anyway, but probably not as quickly. And yeah, you know, and it's funny because, you know, like my husband, John, and he's the vocalist for Forever 12, which is also a Melodic Revolutions band. They're like that. Like John came here, we got married, he came here with me, but he's from LA and lived in LA many years and ran a studio there. And all the Forever 12 guys are in Los Angeles too. But they have put out two albums since he's been here. And, um, you know, they have I don't know what all they do because I don't go in there to see what he's doing, but I know that he's done some jamming online and working that way. But they were able to do their albums and just fine. And he would travel out there for various needs and photos and things like that. So it's you know it's a good way to work.
yeah.
Um, I've always been this way though, even when I was 8, bouncing tracks back and forth with myself.
All right. Tell us about Topeka because you and I talked a little bit before we got started. I've been through there several times, heading out to Colorado. But tell us what it's like there. Those beautiful cornfields that just seem to go on forever.
Yeah, Topeka is in the northeast part of Kansas. It's the capital of Kansas, and we're about an hour away from Kansas City, half hour away from a great town called Lawrence. It's a great arts and music town. Um, and then as you go west, you know, you got Manhattan and Salina, and then from there it starts filtering out into small rural communities, and you drive for miles towards Colorado and you know, it can be a boring drive or it can be a beautiful drive depending on the season or what it is you're really interested in. There's beautiful prairies, and a lot of those prairies are being restored now so that
Good.
yeah, you have the opportunity to see, you know, native prairie and not just propagated kind of, you know,
Yeah.
fields and crops. We have the Flint Hills, which is a very it's not mountains, but hills that roll and have a lot of flint rock in them, and they're beautiful. And then you get into southern Kansas or southwest Kansas, and you have like you think you're in New Mexico or something. There's big mesa rocks, and
Oh, wow.
there's a lot of different geographic areas to Kansas. And it depends on which direction you're traveling. But if you go west, it's a long, flat drive. If it's the summer, it's extremely hot, over 100. And if it's the winter time, they'll close the highways because of blizzards. And so it's just a big, everything meets together here, I think, in the center of the United States.
And when she says hot, there's something she didn't say, and probably because she's so used to living in it. But I grew up in Ohio and I know what humidity is. But out here, out west, we don't have that kind of humidity. We get the
Right.
ocean breezes and things. And that humidity, that hot, humid, is unbelievable. You
It
cannot
is.
survive without an air conditioner. Um,
Yeah, I don't know how we used to because when I was a
yeah, yeah.
teenager and in my early 20s, you know, all my cars and apartments, nothing had air conditioning. And now I'm like, yeah, I don't know how we did that.
It's same
But
thing in
you know,
Ohio. Yeah, I remember, and I was playing football, and I'd be, outside in the heat all day long. You want to
mhm.
come home, and my dad said take a cold shower, and that really did help. But eventually, you dry, your hair dries, everything, and you
An hour
back.
later, you look like you just took another shower.
Well, that too. Yeah, yeah, you're sweating again. But yeah, and we had a lot of fans, but a fan doesn't do an air
It
conditioner.
just moves the humidity around. And
Yeah,
I lived, on the Cherokee Nation on the reservation for over 25 years. I actually most of my adult life that's where I've lived in. And it's the foothills of the Ozarks, of creeks everywhere and trees and all of that, but it is humid there, extremely humid, and it's the same way, The only grace graceful part of it is that there's a lot of trees and shade, and you can sit by the water with your feet in it, and so
yeah.
there's no shade when you get out here. So,
Now
um,
you said that the progressive rock scene was big in Topeka back in the 70s. Is it still alive and well and growing, hopefully?
um, I don't think it is with people my age. I think, but it's really evident when this is a sad thing to say, but it's really evident when you start going to estate sales of people that are
Um,
my age and a little older than me, and you'll find all of these
the
wonderful
records.
albums,
Yeah.
and there's Gentle Giant and Gong and Caravan, and I've never been anywhere where I'd go to estate sales and find things like that. So that kind of got me thinking back on, gosh, it really was, I mean, I look back at pictures of my friends when I was a teenager and they all have Yes shirts on, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was a big thing. And Sean Toner with Progressive Ears, comes from Topeka. He grew up here, and the guys in Kansas, of course. And there's Jake, of course. He's making a name for himself now in the prog world with Emerald City Council, and
Oh yeah.
um, there was just all of this. I mean, I remember one of my friends bought Aphrodite's Child 666 when it came out.
Oh yeah.
So. And it could be because this is a fun fact. All of the zip codes in Topeka start with
Oh, no
666.
kidding. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So there's been a lot of jokes about that. But yeah, I thought that was funny when we saw the album. Everybody was like, well, it's a Topeka thing. No, it's not a Topeka thing. But
all right. And
yeah,
so you already mentioned that one of the questions I had was where are some of your favorite places to go in Kansas? You already covered that. What about food? What's the big, um, I
mm,
would think barbecue. I would definitely think corn on the cob. But what are some of the big delicacies or whatever that people like in the Kansas area or in Topeka?
gosh, like now barbecue, I would say Kansas City. That's
Okay.
definitely a Kansas City thing. But I know I'm going to have all my friends in Topeka yell at me if I don't answer this right. But there's well, yeah, the all-American thing with pie, and
Oh my
pie's a
gosh,
big
yeah.
thing. There's actually a restaurant here that is well known, Bradley's, and they have pies of every shape, form, and kind. It's a big tourist draw. Um, I don't know. I think just the good old American foods. There's a lot of, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but like goulash,
Goulash.
goulash.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah, those are
gosh.
really big here.
Yeah, yeah. My mother used to make it when I was a kid. I think it's Hungarian goulash. Yeah.
No, no, not goulash. It's kolach or kolach, and they're
Oh,
like a little pastry thing a bread-like thing that has meats and fillings inside of it. And it's
oh,
an ethnic, but I just
pierogies?
see now you.
No.
No, it's
Yeah,
Kolache if anybody wants to look it up. Those are big
okay.
here.
I'll have to look it up because it sounds like a
And
pierogi, but
it
um,
does sound like that. Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, I'll have to check that out. But goulash is
It's
good. Now that you
fantastic.
mentioned that, I mean,
Yeah, I can tell you
I haven't had that for a long time, but now now you got me
now I've
thinking.
got you're going to make some now. Yeah, I can tell you a whole lot more about, Cherokee foods and Oklahoma foods than I
Go
can
ahead. Yeah,
Kansas
no,
ones.
go
But
ahead.
yeah, well, like with Cherokee
What's
foods,
different?
we
Yeah.
we have a food called knutsche, and it's made from hickory nuts.
Oh wow.
And you pound them and make a paste, and then boil it and sift all the hulls out, and put hominy with it. There's grape dumplings, and the very best grape dumplings, you go out and you pick wild possum grapes and you boil them down, and then make uh, little dumplings that you boil into that, and it's like a reverse pie or something, it's like
Oh
the
wow.
filling has pieces of the dumpling stirred into it. um, and we do a lot of beans and cornbread, of course, and we have big old hog fries where it's not where a whole hog is roasted, but it's cut up hog meat that's roasted in a big pot over a fire. And um, yeah, and those kind of foods are more. I can tell you all about them. I can cook them and all that. And Oklahoma, because it's home to 39 federally recognized tribes, there's a lot of indigenous food and a lot of crossover. There'll be other tribes
Oh,
that have a similar food that they've changed a little bit. Like they may not have grape dumplings, but they have strawberry dumplings.
wow.
So yeah, you're making me hungry.
I know, me too. Um, and one last thing on the food then. What are some of your favorite? You mentioned a few, but what are some of your favorite restaurants in Topeka or Kansas City, wherever you want to mention? Go ahead.
Oh, well, I am going to give a shout out to a restaurant in Topeka. If anybody ever comes here, there's a lot of the wheat heads come here and they look for Kansas band sites. So when you do that, go down to the Noto Arts and Entertainment District, and there's a restaurant called the Wheelbarrow. And it's not wheelbarrow, it's barrel, like a barrel. So it's called the Wheelbarrow. And they only have gourmet cheese, grilled cheese, gourmet grilled
Oh,
cheese
wow.
of all sorts. I mean, just wonderful combinations and all different types of cheese and bread. And they do house-made chips to go with it. That's a really cool place. And there's always music going on. And yeah, I'll give them a shout out for sure. But my favorite food in general, personally, is New Mexican food. Not
Oh,
Mexican, I love Mexican food too, but New Mexican food is my absolute favorite cuisine.
what's the difference?
There's a lot of difference, really. People don't realize that, but like there's some Spanish influence, of course, but wherever you go in New Mexico, it's different based on what pueblo you're near. So
Oh,
the indigenous foods there's so many, and there's like 14, I think, different pueblos. And so it'll be different from, let's say, Santa Fe to Taos.
oh,
Um, and it depends on which pueblo the cook is from, on what kind of
oh, wow.
seasonings and ingredients they use. And it's very, very tasty and unique. And you smell pinyon wood all the time, because
Hmm.
it's a very unique experience.
Gotta get me some of that. That sounds
You
good.
do.
All right. Well, let's talk about your album now. With Forged from Fire, you talk about it as a coming of age
Hmm.
odyssey. Is this kind of your life history, or you tell me?
Yeah, there's some of it is my life history, but it's based on the realization of those things in the last 10 years, or gosh, how many years has it been since my last album came out? But in the last 5 or 6 years at least, I have gone through a lot of things besides getting older. Um,
We're all doing it.
I yeah, my one thing that was very influential, and a lot of reckoning happened, was my grandfather that raised me passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I was the only. he had actually legally adopted me. So I was the one that had to take care of everything. And he had lived in it. He built his house 70 years ago, and it was just so full of things that it was like an archaeological excavation. The layers were like you could identify what decade you were in, the deeper and deeper you would get. And I found answers to so many things in my life, so many things, and regarding my mother's life, and just that whole year that I had to spend working on that, I dealt with emotionally so many issues that had been plaguing me really, and I didn't even realize it. And once I got all those answers, then everything started getting very clear to me, and I could see other things in my life clearer. And so I kind of identified to myself the main key things that really put a dent, whether a good one or a bad one, in my life. Dents can be good or bad depending on where they're at when you're chiseling away. And
Yeah.
um, so that was where all of these, and I felt like I had been forged from fire, like gone through all of these things since I was born. And I mean, it's such a long, intimate story, but there's little pieces of it all throughout this album. And when I'm getting back to Topeka, this is a great segue actually, um, is Tornado Alley. Um, that track is a two-part little mini suite, F1 and F5. And so in 1966, we had here in Topeka on June 8th an F5 tornado that at the time was the largest tornado in American history. Since
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
surpassed, but it left a huge scar on every one of my generation. And it came down, there was this myth about Burnett's Mound. Well, I don't know that it was a myth, but there's a story about Burnett's Mound located here in Topeka that was supposed to protect the village, the town from such tornadoes. And a year to the day almost before the tornado hit, they dug into the mountain and built this big water tower and
Oh,
tank and stuff. And so the tornado hit Burnett's Mound and then came across the whole city. And there you go, the Kansas album, the very first Kansas album. There's the one with John Brown on the front with the
yeah.
rifle. The back of that album, that photo was taken on Burnett's Mound. So
Oh,
people of my generation, that was a big deal. And
yeah.
I can still drive through Topeka and show you exactly where that tornado, all the old houses, and then over there, oh, there's all the new ones, and it went right through your mile wide tornado. And I developed a love-hate relationship from tornadoes because of that. But it was quite an ordeal because um, I was at the age where, you have false memories when you think back on things. Like I swear I remember the tornado. There was a lady on a bicycle going by out the window, but I'm like, nah, that was Wizard of Oz,
That's
you
Wizard
know.
of Oz. Yeah.
But in my head, I was getting it confused with the actual tornado. And also at the time, Vietnam War was going on. And so we had all of this wreckage and we had National Guardsmen in uniforms guarding people's stuff. And then we'd turn on the TV and see Vietnam. And at that young age, I couldn't really distinguish. I thought it was all the same, you
Same.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was a lot of that. Tornado has a lot to do with my psyche, I think. So that there's something to respect. And so that track I did in a two-part thing, and the F1 is just a storm. It's just coming in. And Alexandra lives. She is an ethnic singer from Russia who has done lots of voice work on like loops and samples and games on video games and stuff. And she does a lot of ethnic kind of voices. And I thought she would be so great at being an F1, the voice of the F1, just kind of feminine, but yet kind of cunning, and you got to watch out. So she does some vocable type work on F1. Then F2, or I'm sorry, yeah, I did have a two, three, and a four, but they're not on the album. F5 um, is the biggie, and that is Honor Tabnoglu. And he's from Turkey, and he has this wonderful, he does metal and classical and a lot of festivals. He was on The Voice in Turkey, and he's done video games too and a lot of voiceovers. And I'm like, he would be the greatest F5. He was the voice of the F5. So when you listen to that track, you're really listening to the storms themselves, you
That's
know?
cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
Well, when you were talking about that, that made me flash back to when I first heard Frame 313. And
Hmm.
like you're a kid. I was 3 years old when it happened. And I remember, and yes, obviously I've seen videos since then, but I seem to feel like I remember at 3 years old. Really, could you have remembered that? But it was such an important day in the history of the world,
Yeah.
that yes, I do remember seeing pictures
Hmm.
of them, you know, looking for, you know, putting what's his name in handcuffs and the whole thing.
Oswald.
Yeah, Oswald. I remember that and walking him out. I remember it. I do. I don't remember I mean, I don't think the actual, we weren't watching the actual motorcade and all that,
Right.
but you did
Yeah, I
see it
think.
on the news later. And
Hmm.
I remember seeing those things. And even though, everyone would say, no, you were 3 years old, you're not going to remember all that. It's your current memory. But that's another great song. She jumped into the middle, which is okay. We'll come back to the beginning, but both of those songs are very, very,
Yeah, Frame 313. I'm with you. I have memories of that, but I
and by
also
the
have
way, that's
another.
President Kennedy's assassination for those people that
Yeah, and
haven't
I'll
heard this
explain
one.
where the title comes from here in a second. But that I have memories of President Kennedy's assassination, but I have more false memories again with that because about a year and a half after his assassination, my uncle passed away and he had two little kids, a boy and a girl, and they were about the same ages as John and Caroline
Oh, yeah.
Kennedy were. And I remember them at the funeral, and I always
Yeah.
remember them being in matching coats. And my cousin, she recently passed away, but she would really laugh and she would say, "Oh, we never had matching coats. What are you talking about?" But I was associating them with
Yeah.
what I'd seen at the funeral. But I've always been fascinated with that whole story because it was such a life-changing event, not particularly just, for me, but for everyone of our
Everyone.
generation,
Yeah.
the world, it
The
affected
world.
the world. And so that had to be in there. But Frame 313, the title comes from the Zapruder film,
Yeah.
which shows the actual assassination. And Frame 313 is the actual headshot.
Yeah.
And the gun, that's why it starts with that gunshot. And it's,
Yeah.
so that one was one I've been wanting to do for years, that song. And I've had several different working versions of it, but this one seemed right in the right time.
All right. So those are two of the best songs, but there's so much more in this album. Let's come back to Phoenix Rising, and it sounds like, is that the one that you put together after going through your grandfather's house? And or was it even before that?
All of them have been after that. Phoenix Rising, though, that's kind of, just a I'm back kind of anthem. I haven't made music commercially for a while. And I wasn't sure I would ever be able to again. I was having a lot of health problems, and some of those took quite a bit of, things to resolve, get treatments right and things. But one of the problems, I had a separate problem, And the separate problem was my hands, and I could not move my hands for quite a while. I mean,
Goodness.
to move my fingers, they wouldn't bend. I could only do this. I couldn't get the bending thing, and I couldn't hold things. And we
Hmm.
checked everything possible. What is going on here? It started with frozen shoulder, actually, that whole episode. Um, and I think frozen shoulder was when I actually kind of went, you know what, I can't play because I just bought a theremin. And a
Oh,
theremin is
yeah,
so
you got to
like,
stand up and yeah.
yeah, and you have to really be able to move and it was like, forget it, I can't do this. So I let my son inherit my theremin early so that he could use it in his music projects. And I had a lot of problems going on with all sorts of health things. I'll just put it that way. And I really thought I'm not going to be able to play anymore. So I on the surface accepted that, but inside it made me very mad, and I didn't even want to listen to music because the minute I would listen to music, I would want to go start
I
playing.
see.
And it was rough. And then I just after all of this, and I came to terms with all of the things in my life. I looked at where I was at now, and I'm like, I'm in a great spot now. All of these things I've gone through, they're done, they're over. I'm in this wonderful place in my life. So I should be doing what I love. So I decided to start working on another album, and that was The Phoenix Rising.
Okay. Um, and she actually talked to me about this because I've on this left side, I have the same kind of frozen shoulder. And you found that it was vitamin D deficiency and or explained, and now I'm thinking of doing the same thing that she does. But do you want
Yeah, it definitely contributed because I had, they were doing everything, testing everything to find out what all these issues were that were going on with me. And they discovered I had a severe vitamin D deficiency. I mean, I was almost at rickets level, I was really low. And so they gave me these mega doses of vitamin D to get me brought back up. And then now I have to continue monthly taking a lot of vitamin D. But did you sign a HIPAA thing? No, I'm just kidding. We
if
didn't
you
sign a
don't, yeah,
HIPAA.
no, if you don't
No,
want to
I'm
talk
just
about
kidding.
this, yeah,
I'm just kidding. I
no,
have no
that's
problem
true.
with
Yeah,
it.
it's,
Um,
but I'm
but
talking about mine too.
yeah, no, really, I was just kidding. Um, so when they gave me these mega doses of vitamin D3, all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, my arm's moving again because I couldn't put it up any higher than that. And I couldn't put it behind me. It was frozen. It just wouldn't move.
yeah,
And it did then. And so I'm convinced that had something to do with it. It's probably just an anecdotal kind of finding, and it may have just been me that it applied to. But after I put that information out there to the public, a couple of people have contacted me and said it helped them as well. So if it helps anybody, I'm glad I talked about it.
yeah, definitely. I'm gonna give it a try because yeah, and I think mine's from sports. And
Hmm.
I had one doctor say, "Mark, do you realize you've," and I can never remember the right word, separated or dislocated. I can't.
Uh,
There's one that I think if you dislocate, you're in the hospital and you're on a hospital bed, and then separated, you may not even feel it. So whichever the one is that I didn't feel, but she said you did this like 10, 15 times. I'm like, there's no way. And yes, I'm sure I did from, I was an offensive lineman, defensive lineman.
mm,
I've hit
hmm
so many people that you don't even realize. And then you get older and it's like, now that thing comes back to haunt you. Those things that when you were a kid, you used to, it's pain, don't worry about it, and
hmm
you're able to do it. And then they come back to you when you're older. But yeah, it's just this one, same thing. And it's not when people are saying the word frozen shoulder, they're like, "Oh my God, you can't move." No, I can move, but like she said, you can't go all the way up. Like here's my right arm, I can go all the way up and do whatever I want. Left arm, no. So yeah,
Yeah.
and it doesn't hurt her or anything, but it definitely is something that uh, you'd like to have back. And I'm so happy she told me about this because I'm gonna definitely give it a try because I
Well,
want that back.
cross my fingers for you.
And everyone's like, well, go get it, go get the surgery, go get the surgery. And
Well,
I, I I've been in healthcare, doing some work in healthcare. I'm not a doctor or anything. So, but anytime you open up the body, you're opening it up to many different things. And I don't
right.
want to do that unless I absolutely have to. And right now, like
Yeah. Well, I will
being
wish you
an
luck on that.
yeah, being an athlete, I'm used to pain, and like I say, it doesn't hurt normally. It's just if I try to flex too far, so I can
Yeah.
live with that, and it's not worth, going through surgery. And I think you feel the same way. You wouldn't want to go through surgery unless,
Yeah, yeah. But this just act it was an accident, sort of, and so yeah, I hope something works out for you on that. Keep me posted and let me know on that.
yeah, definitely.
But
Yeah.
but that was definitely the Phoenix Rising moment. And then
Okay.
the next track,
Yeah, traces and
um,
spaces.
e- that one is the bonus track. So we're not going to talk about that one right now. But
Oh, okay.
we'll go on to Invisible Horizons.
Okay.
And Invisible Horizons is about how when you're really young and you're all gung ho and energetic and you're just ready for anything and you just don't see what's coming. You don't realize all of these challenges, or maybe not even a challenge, but just something you're going to walk into someday, in the future. And so,
And by
Invisible
the way,
Horizons.
we all do it. So for those of
Yes,
you that are young and
yes,
why is this happening to me? It happened to me. I'm sure it happened to her. It happens to everyone. You get
it
through it
does.
and you
And
will get through it. So
the
hang,
wonderful thing about it is there comes a day that you look back on it and it all makes sense, you
yeah,
know. And so this is a reflection on that of going like, yeah, I was just, hop, skipping, jumping around, and not realizing all of the things that would happen. Um, and so that is a duet. And that has John Baker on vocals, and then Alexandra Lifshitz, she does the female part on that. A lot of people assume because I'm female that I'm a singer, and I'm like, if I was a singer, I would have gotten nowhere musical. Trust me, if I was trying to sing, nobody would want to be listening to me.
I
I
bet
cannot
you can
sing.
sing good.
Well, I sing somewhat, like the children's songs in Cherokee. I sang those, but I don't feel like it's something that I am proficient enough and confident enough in. I let somebody else do it that's an expert at it. And I've worked with some really wonderful singers in my life, particularly John Payne of Asia has done
Yeah.
a lot of my vocals, and Michael Sadler from Saga, and John Baker has done several tracks with me in the past. So
Just
yeah,
a
lots
shout
of
out,
vocalists.
just a shout out to Michael. I hope he recovers and um,
I
comes back.
think about him a lot.
He's a wonderful singer. For those of you guys that have never heard of Saga, every album I've got them all, well, most of them. The one I asked him a while back, can you do the steps? I think it's called the steps. And he had songs on each of his albums that were part of a story. And I said, can you do one of those with a studio version? And I made my own, mixtape or whatever. But it'd be nice to have that all as he did a live
Yeah.
version of that. He did a live version, which you can't get the CD anymore. At least when I tried to, I couldn't get it. But but it'd be nice to have all of them in from the studio version. But definitely he's going through some really tough times, and hopefully,
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy too, a great person. He's just a really, really good person. And I've spent, a lot of social time around him as well as that, in the studio several times. And he's really great. And then John Payne,
yeah.
he is a super fantastic guy. And he's like my brother from another mother, and he even gave me away at our wedding. He
Oh
stood
wow.
in, yeah. So he,
Hey, isn't he
he,
the lead singer of Asia right now?
he's the lead singer of Asia featuring John Payne.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he is a super guy and very talented as well. He's more than a singer. He plays guitar, he plays bass, he's a producer, he's a comedian,
Yeah.
not professionally, but he's a really funny guy. And, I would like to work with all of those people again someday. Um, and we're all still, like John and I, every once in a while, hi, hi, those go through those things. So, but I've worked with a lot of great vocalists, and I don't do it myself.
Okay.
But people ask me that all the time. They're like, oh, or they'll introduce me and they'll go, yeah, she's a singer. Do you know she's a singer? And I'm like, no, I'm not a singer,
Yeah.
and it's
Keyboard.
just people, I don't know, think women are always singers, but um,
Yeah.
be glad I don't.
All right. They were young. Go ahead and talk about if you
That's an
want.
inst Yeah, that's an instrumental piece. And it's kind of a triptych of sorts. There's like three main instruments to it. There's the piano, and then there's a native flute, and then there's a violin. And so the piano is my mother, and the native flute is my father, and the violin is me.
Oh,
And it was, like as I said earlier, my grandparents raised me, so that's enough said about that. But it was basically because they were young. They were very young, and they tried, and they were both my best friends before their passing. We were all
close. Yeah.
we had a great relationship, and I loved both of them dearly. But that didn't come until much later. I didn't even meet my dad till I was 25. So, um, but I came to terms with all of that, and it was because they were young. And so that's just a nice little tribute to them and me. It's our little family in that song.
Okay. White hair and chocolate. That's the closest that I saw to like a Kansas song.
Wow, that's really cool that you say that.
The rock band Kansas, I mean.
Yeah,
But tell
yeah.
me, what's the white hair and chocolate? Because
Yeah, so I titled the song, nobody in the whole world knows me as well as John Baker knows me. And I entrusted him to write lyrics about my reckoning. And he nailed them. He knew what I felt and why I was doing this. And so he wrote the lyrics to that and he sings it. And it's about, you may change, your hair starts turning white and um but you still love the things that you did when you were younger, chocolate being one of them. So some of these things don't change, even though your hair, it's very abstract.
no,
It's a
no,
very abstract title.
yeah,
But when he wrote the lyrics and he shared them with me, he had this line in there that was just fabulous. It was like the same old box of chocolates. And I was like, first I thought of Forrest Gump, but
Forrest
then
Gump. Yeah, I was gonna say it sounded like
But then I thought, no, wait, that's right though. It's true. It's like no matter how young
life
or
is.
how old, it's all the same box of chocolates. The
Yeah,
same issues, the same things are happening, same things you deal with, you cry over, laugh about. They're all the same.
yeah.
So that song is really just a maturing kind of growing older and being comfortable in that space is what that song's about. It took me a while to become comfortable with getting salt and pepper hair and, having to wear hearing aids or glaucoma or whatever the heck's next. It's like I started coming to term with the fact that I am getting older, and that's okay because I'm in that spot where I'm starting to have some rights that I didn't have before. I can yell, "Get
Yeah,
out of my yard!" and nobody's gonna, you
say
know.
anything. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and I've been through the same situation when my hair turned white. I was like, do I color it? Do I not? And I was a professor, I was teaching, and I was like, heck no. I mean, now I finally look like, I started teaching when I was late 30s, 40, and people are like, this guy's not a teacher. He's too young. And now it's like, oh yeah, he definitely looks like a professor. And so yeah, no, I wasn't going to change it. And then it started getting like this, and I'm like, and my wife just absolutely loves it. And if she loves it, I love it. And so yeah,
right.
no, I'm not going to change it. And you know, yeah, you can change it, but it really doesn't change you.
No,
And
it doesn't.
I have gotten so used to it, and it doesn't bother. I mean, the hurts and
Yeah,
pains, the early morning stuff that you get every once in a while, your knees and things like that. Hey, you've had a good life. I've played three sports pretty much all the way through college, and yeah, you're gonna have some bumps and bruises from that, and
yeah, yeah.
that's life, and you'll get
And
over them.
the song also honors, one of the wonderful things about growing older is the retrospect that you have on things. You're able to look at things
There you
in a
go.
new light, and they become valuable. And if not to yourself, they become valuable to somebody else. I can't count in the last couple of years the opportunities I've had to sit down with somebody much, much younger than me and talk to them about their problems and give them some good advice. I think I gave them good advice anyway. I hope I did. Based on your experiences. And so it's a real song about becoming an elder,
Yeah.
more than just becoming old, but becoming an elder and wise.
Well, and people have asked me, wouldn't you like to go back to your 20s and 30s? And those are probably the best years of my life. Not that these aren't fantastic as well, but do I want to go back through my undergraduate degree? Absolutely not. That it took me like 6, 7 years to get through my undergraduate, and I said that will not happen again. I got through my master's in about 2.5 years, and that was working full time. So yeah, do I want to go back through all that working and no, and traveling like I did? No, 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 no. And
Yeah,
and the other thing that you get, and I'm sure you've got this as well, is that knowledge, that experience. So
that's
when
it.
I
Yeah.
when I see something, that might happen, or my son, or it's like,
Hmm.
don't do that. I've been there. It's
Yeah.
gonna hurt. Yeah.
And then you
And
have to have the wisdom to know when to say
well,
something and
yeah,
when to
yeah.
just not say something,
Yes.
because they need to learn the same way we learned. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's there's a lot to becoming older. Um, and
There's
I
benefits.
embrace it.
Yeah, yeah. You don't really have any choice, but you got
Right.
to you have to find a way to embrace it. And again, I wouldn't want to start over again. I've learned a lot, and I wouldn't want to unlearn or relearn that again. And yeah,
Yeah. But it's always going to be the same box of chocolates. So yeah,
there you go.
that's what that one is about. And I really love that song. And there's yeah, John did a great job with that.
All right, under their influence.
That was one of the most fun tracks I did on the album, and I did it in many parts and pieces and brought it all together. And I'm thinking about having a contest, thinking about it, of seeing who can come up with the most prog influences they hear, little nods to certain artists in that song, because there are many, and there's even some I didn't realize that people will bring up to me, and I'm like, oh, I didn't do that intentionally, but it would be fun to see how many different influences people hear in that. And so that's what the title is. Instead of Under the Influence, I was under their influence my whole life. All of these great prog players, and some of it's not even prog, but there's a lot of prog players you can hear in there. Identify. Are there a few you can identify?
I was about to say definitely Keith Emerson at the beginning.
Oh gosh,
Then
thank you.
yeah, and then I hear Tony Banks, and maybe you can explain it because I've never really asked anyone. Let's be honest. That stringed keyboard sound. It sounds like you know,
Like a
I,
mellotron.
it sounds like violins, but I know it's not. It's
Uh-huh.
a
It's a
keyboard,
mellotron.
a mellotron. There you go.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
don't have an actual mellotron. I wish I did. I used to have a keyboard called an orchestron that was similar. And any keyboard buffs out there might have heard of that orchestron. But I have a virtual mellotron. And mellotron was used a lot in the late 60s and early 70s, and not just in Prague. I mean, it was in everything out
everything.
there.
Oh yeah, you can see it on a lot of regular rock uh, bands as well. Yeah, but I
Definitely. Even the
definitely
Beatles used it.
the Beatles. Yeah, but I definitely hear Tony Banks there, and so those are the two that I immediately.
Okay.
But I
I
didn't.
will only mention one because, like I said, I may have a contest, so I'm not going to give
Oh,
them all
yeah.
away. But there's also a nod to UK in there.
Oh, okay. I never really listened too much to
I'll
them.
let you listen to it to see if you can find it.
Well, like
But
I
there's
say,
a
I wasn't a big fan of theirs, but if I remember correctly, Eddie Jobson.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But you'll
Uh,
hear it more in not necessarily the keyboards of Eddie Jobson, but it's more of a bass,
oh,
the
okay.
bass parts, more of a John Wetton kind of thing going on for a
Oh,
minute in
okay.
there. But I loved UK, and I just that was the most fun that I had in doing the album. Kept wanting to, go through all my folders on my computer and find these little bits that I had done as an idea at one time or another that I never fleshed out. And, like, how can I put these all together and make it cohesive? And then I'm like, wait a minute, it's Prague. It's not supposed to be cohesive. Like I just, like it finds its own way to go together, and that's what's progressive about it is it's not following any formula. Um, I really love that piece, and I have thought about how could I ever do a video for that song, and I just can't come up with a solution to that one. So, but unless it was just a psychedelic kind of light
Yeah.
show going on, like pictures at an exhibition or something. But that's all I can really say about that one. Is every person is going to hear something different in there, but that's the most proggy influenced one, influenced by other people one.
All right. And then the finale, which is Forged with Fire, you bring everything back together. Do you want to talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah, Forged from Fire, the title track is that's going to be the first video and single release, and it's going to be released. It's going to be a video premiere September 12th.
Oh, all
It'll
right.
it'll be a live premiere on YouTube with a live chat and everything. So I'll
Oh,
be in there, and John Baker will be in there, um, and probably Nick, and who knows who all. Come see me. But that song, yeah, it's more of a commercial prog, melodic prog. I don't know. There's so many different terms people use now
yeah.
for it, but John wrote the lyrics on that as well, and he was like, I don't know. He was kind of nervous when he had me listen to it because this is the one, and the video, it is the one that explains
The whole
me, my life, and
story.
and being a phoenix rising, and he nailed it so well, and he does a wonderful job on the vocals. It's just, I love that song so much. And all I can say is September 12th, everybody will get to hear it. And at that time, on September 12th, not only will we have the live premiere, but that's when pre-orders will go on sale for the whole album.
All right.
So it's going to be available in LP, a limited edition LP. Oh my gosh, it's on transparent orange. It had nothing to do with Taylor Swift. I had announced this way before she made her announcement. It was so funny. I was like,
No,
no, I can't believe it, you know. And it was because of the fire and it matched the album cover and everything. And
no, no,
plus,
no.
as a kid, I always wanted a colored vinyl album, you know, it was on my bucket list. So it's coming out on the same day too, October 3rd. And it will also be available as digital download. If you pre-order the album, the LP, you get the digital download. But then there'll be a CD version as well, and the CD has a bonus track on it. So that's the only place that will be available to the public is on the CD.
When we get
And
done, I'm going to show you Hannah Wyatt's album. To me, I pulled that thing out of the sleeve, and it looked like red ochre. And I'm thinking,
oh wow,
I'm
yeah.
telling you, it took me to the Lamb Lies Down like that. And
Uh, yeah, there's
I told her that, and she's not a prog person at all. And she's like, this guy's hallucinating or something, you know. But after I explained where that idea came from, she, oh yeah, okay. But we'll see if that's the same color you're talking about. Uh,
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people will say that, oh, there's bonus tracks on the CD because you want to, you know, sell more or this and that.
yeah,
Well, you know, part of it is because the time limitations on an LP.
yeah,
You're limited to like 22 minutes on an LP. Excuse me, whereas CDs you can, you know, have an hour or more on there.
yeah.
And I didn't want to leave this song off, but I had to leave it off of the album or one of them. And I chose that one because it's a little different than all the other tracks, I guess. And so it's on the CD. And, you know, that time limitation was the real driving factor in there. And then we thought, well, okay, we need to play with this and have a little fun with it. So let's just make it where, you know, like you don't get to hear it unless you get the CD. But there will be, you know, there are also going to be some tracks released throughout the next year that aren't on the album or the CD that have come out of these sessions.
Great. All right. You mentioned a couple already, but what other things are you working on now? Um, or if you want to discuss any of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, one of them is the other tracks that have come out of this session. I want to flesh them out a bit more. Hopefully work with Jake on those. Hear that, Jake? And those will be like over the next year. They could develop into another album of its own. So that's still in the making. And then I'm working on this project on the Native women issues, the missing and murdered Indigenous women, the
Yeah.
theme of the red dress. And I'm actually working on that with a mestiza from Ecuador, and her name is Carolina, and she is
Wait
doing
a
the
minute.
vocals.
Did
Sorry?
you? No. Did you say the word Ecuador?
Yes.
Oh my God. My wife is from Ecuador.
Oh,
She
wonderful.
is going to love that. And she's
Yes,
definitely going to
yes.
want to buy that. But
Yes. And
if you can, tell
Carolina,
me more about this because she's going to. Why didn't you ask her more, Mark? Go ahead.
well, I'll tell you all as much as I can right now because a lot of it's subject to change. It's being created as we speak, you know. But she is, you know, indigenous and mestiza from Ecuador, and she has the most perfect, wonderful voice for the lyrics and the emotion and the passion that is going into this project. And it's really not just the voice, but in her heart. Every time she goes through the lyrics, she explains to me how it's affected her, and you know, she she's just the right person for this. I couldn't have found a better person. Um, and so that is going to be a native based project. I'm looking at working with a few other Indigenous and Native people on that,
Please,
but it'll be next year.
if you can remember, please send that to me.
I definitely will. I
I
definitely
have an
will.
interest, and like I say, she will absolutely go crazy over that.
I
And
sure will. And then when you review it, then look at all the other people that will have an interest in it. So,
I hope so. Yeah, no, I will do everything I can to
yeah, I
scream
appreciate
it
you so
loudly.
much.
You mentioned a few people you'd like to collaborate with. Are there others that you'd want to say on air, or that's kind of a difficult thing, you know?
Yeah, we don't have anything worked out yet, like agreements. There's a native flute player that's pretty well known that is listening to one of the tracks that I really want him to. I've got a spot just for him, like, with him in mind. So hopefully that will work out.
Speaking
Yeah.
of that, real quick, there's a bunch of and I down in downtown Seattle near the Space Needle. Every time we go down there, there's a bunch of Ecuadorian flute players that are just spectacular. And I don't have their card or name or anything. I did take it a long time ago, but next time I'll try.
Yeah, do pass it on to me
Yeah.
because, like I said, this is still being developed, so it may take a different direction. Um, and I want it to be very intertribal too, the missing and murdered Indigenous women is something that all Native women um, are affected by, and not just women, girls, teenagers, everyone.
It's
Um,
serious.
and so, I'm kind of looking at some other surprises for next year. I'm looking at some other kind of business collaborations. And I really can't say a lot about it right now, but you will be the first to know, and everyone else can find out. And just keep your ears attuned because now that I'm back, I'm like, I have a lot of catching up to do. And all these ideas that have been rolling through my head are now just coming out, out through my fingers. So,
She really is a phoenix rising. Yes, absolutely. Well, we covered a deep breath of information here. Is there anything we didn't cover that you'd like to talk about?
gosh, I don't think so. I just want to invite everybody if it's been a while since I've made some music and I know I still have some of my old fans around, but I would love to meet new ones, and introduce new fans to my music. My website is lisalaruemusic.com and there's a discography on there and it's also my new website. I had to update the old one was so out of date. So it's I'm continually updating it, but also through Melodic Revolution Records, we're working on getting a lot of my music that wasn't previously available through them available. And then on my Facebook, Lisa LaRue and 2KX, I'll always be announcing everything that's going on there. So just keep keep your eyes open and follow those things and you know you never know what I'm going to come up with literally.
Well, Lisa LaRue, Forged by Fire, definitely get out there. It's a wonderful album. She's basically giving you her life's journey, and it's worth all the time and effort she put into it. And so give
Thank
her
you.
give her a chance to listen to it. And I think you'll like it. You'll want to definitely don't miss. I think you said September 13th was the
Well,
YouTube 12th. Sorry, say I'm thinking of something else. But yeah, um, there's a big thing that we're having around here. But anyway, on the 12th, don't miss that YouTube launch of her first
yeah,
music video and discussion. It sounds like you'll have an open discussion board and maybe,
we will.
yeah,
And again, the
and it's
pre-orders
live.
open then, and the pre-orders open, and there's a bonus with that in that you get there's a discount for pre-ordering. So
Don't miss it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll be there. All right.
Right.
Well, hey, Lisa, thank you very much for all the time and
Thank you.
uh, finally get to meet you. And you're just as wonderful as everyone said you were, which I
Aw, thank you.
expected, but now I definitely know. But yeah, thank you very much again. And if you don't have anything else, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it and we'll talk for just a minute.
Ready to say toodles.
All right, hold on just a second here. And again, thank you. Please get out and give this a listen. I think you'll like it. Hold on a minute.